Hello, everybody. Welcome to Chapter 11. This week, we look at different financial tools that we can use in decision making for financial decisions that we look at, perhaps undertaking projects or investments of some kind. Okay, so the first one we're going to look at is called payback. And payback essentially looks at how long it takes for an organization to recover their initial cost of a project or an investment. Okay, how long does it take them to really just get the money back? That's all it is with this. Okay, so let's take a look at these. Open up your ICA 11.1. We'll take a look. The first question says, assume a $100,000 investment and the following cash flows for two alternatives. The company uses a 5-year threshold to decide if a project is acceptable or not. All right, so what we do is we look at this. You have investment Y and investment Z, and you have the cash flows for each one. Now notice both investments require a $100,000 upfront cost. So the question is, how long will it take for each of these projects to recover their $100,000 of initial cost? Okay, and that's what the payback is. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to look at cumulative of how much needed to recover. How much is left to recover is what we're looking at. Okay, so when the initial project is done, obviously when we start day one, there's $100,000 left to recover. Well, based on these cash flows that we have here, we are assuming that in the first year, we're going to recover $11,000 of it. So we have $100,000 initial cost, and we're going to recover $11,000 of that. So that means that there's $89,000 left to recover after the first year. Well, we can do the same thing. If there's $89,000 left to recover after the first year, then the second year, we're looking at $16,000 as our cash flow for year two. Then that means $73,000 is left after 2 years. So if I set this formula up, I ought to be able to copy this straight down and say, hey, those are the amounts left to recover after years 3, 4, and 5. Now, notice we are looking to see how many years it takes to recover this material. So look at this. If you see here, year 4 is the last year we're in the red, and year 5 we're actually in the black, or we're in the positive. So that means it's going to take us 4 years plus some part of 5. So we say, okay, so the number of years of the payback on this starts with the 4 years plus, and notice we have $28,000 left out of $40,000 possible in year 5 that we have to recover. Now, I'm going to negate this. I'm going to make the negative 28, but we need 28 out of 40, which is really a fraction of the year 5 that we need. So we're going to take 28, we're going to divide by 40, and then we hit enter, and notice it's going to give us 4.7 years, but it's going to show it in dollar form, and we don't want dollar, we want decimal form, 4.7 years. Now, if I set this up correct, I should be able to copy this, and then paste, Control V, and we have this. Now, notice this says 4 years exactly, which is correct. So notice right here, after 4 years, at the end of 4 years, we actually have a balance of 0. So that's really the break-even point that we see. So the question is, which alternative would you select under the payback method and why? Well, we go back up here and we say, hey, look, the company uses a 5-year threshold, which means the company is requiring that these projects must recover the money, the initial cost, within 5 years. So we look at these and we say, hey, both of these recover in less than 5 years, so they're both okay. So if we have to choose between either Y or Z, we choose project Z because it pays back faster. It pays back faster, or it has a faster payback. Z only takes 4 years, whereas Y takes 4.7 years that we see. Second question is, referring back to the numbers above, if the inflow in the 5th year for investment Y was 250 instead of 40, would your answer change? So the question is, instead of year 5 being 40, this is 250. Does it change our answer? Well, we notice if we enter that in, this is still more than 4 years. But we could have noticed that because that doesn't affect how much we have to recover in previous years. So no, it does not change our answer, because investment Y still takes longer than Z. How would your decision change if the company had a 3-year threshold? Well, notice both Y and Z take more than 3 years. So if the company says instead of a 5-year threshold, it's now 3, we accept neither investment because neither Y nor Z meets our 3-year threshold for payback for the company.